Remington podcast, where we take a deep dive into all things ammunition. I'm your host, Audrey Mayes, and today we're at OSG Roundtable, joined by Adam Heggenstaller. He's the editorial director of Game & Fish magazine.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Audrey. Excited to be here, having fun, shooting guns. You can hear in the background. There's a lot of trigger pulling going on.
Yeah, it's a great time, and this is a great event. It's my first time, but I'm having a good time.
Good.
Yeah.
And you've been stuck here in the pavilion doing podcasts.
I have.
Not out here in the line, actually having all the real fun like we editors and writers and publishers get to do. So
I'll get my time. I really want to go try that crazy quail. But Adam, you've been on several hunts with Remington ammunition. I know that you're a fan. Not so recently, but in the past, you went to Alaska. Right. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that hunt and that experience for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about Remington and core-locked ammunition, I've been on 30 plus years of hunts with Remington ammunition. I've always been a fan of Remington, the core-locked bullet. Probably, like I said in a piece that I wrote a couple years ago, no exaggeration, probably the first dozen or so deer that I took as a younger hunter all fell out of Remington core locks because that's all we'd shoot. My family, it was like a household name pretty much. But to jump ahead several decades to the Alaska trip, that was with the Premier Long Range, which was new at that time. It was 3 years ago, something like that.
I think 2.
Yeah, 2 years ago. But again, the performance can't argue with that. The hunt was pretty unique. It was on Kodiak Island for blacktail deer and for caribou. There's a small resident population of caribou, or what the locals call feral reindeer, depending on who you talk to, what they are. But anyway, I was fortunate enough to use that Premier Long Range bullet 3 times, 3 shots, 3 animals on Kodiak. And like I said, the performance was what I've come to expect from Remington ammunition. It did exactly what it was advertised to do. I know it's a long-range product. I didn't shoot it at any extremely long ranges, but 284 yards isn't exactly short range either.
No, it is not.
and it did exactly what it was designed to do.
Yeah, and that bullet, it comes from a long legacy of us partnering with other companies to make a cartridge, right? And so Premier Long Range has that spear impact bullet on it. How was the terminal performance? How did it perform when you hit the animal?
I mean, it's the cool thing about that spear impact is it's a bonded bullet, so the bullet's not going to blow up on impact, whether you're close range or long range, you're going to get expansion, and that's what I saw on all those animals. Just devastating wound channels. The caribou are typically a little bit larger than your deer size game. It's not an elk or anything like that, but it's 300 plus pound animal on Kodiak, and that shot was, I don't remember exactly, it was 130, 150 yards, something like that, and plenty of penetration. That animal went maybe 100 yards or so and tipped over. So I know it's marketed as a long-range load, and it certainly is a long-range load, but I like to think of it as an all-range load because of that bonded bullet. It's not going to blow up if you happen to get a close-range shot and your impact velocity is high, but at the same time, the slipstream tip on that bullet allows for expansion at lower velocities and farther ranges. So I think it's an all-around great product for Remington. From Remington, I enjoy hunting with it, and I'd use it on just about anything.
Yeah, again, we'd love to hear that, but it really, that product in particular really performs well. And I personally have shot at multiple ranges, not at an animal, unfortunately, but at targets and in gel. And it does, it mushrooms beautifully. The upsets are really nice. And so, just expanding on that Remington name. Right. So doing great. And I think you're completely right. All ranges, it's designed to travel a good distance without dropping. But it also has that explosive power to hit those close range animals as well.
Right, and that's kind of you're treading a fine line there when you design a bullet for long range. And I'm sure many of your listeners know this, but I'll mention it anyway. You're looking for a high ballistic coefficient bullet when you're shooting at longer ranges to be more efficient downrange, retain energy, retain velocity. And the way you do that is by making a longer bullet. Well, you get longer, you get heavier. You get heavier, you get slower velocity. Slower velocities equal to typically less expansion and less penetration. Or I'm sorry, less expansion anyway. But the beautiful thing about the spear impact bullet is that it is a soft lead core bullet, so you're going to get that expansion. But since it's bonded, it's going to hold together. So at the close ranges, you're not going to get, what guys refer to as overexpansion.
Or separation.
Or a separation.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah, it is a nice product. But like you said, you've been shooting Remington since forever. Since back, deadliest mushroom in the woods.
Right, core lock.
Core locks,
exactly.
Yeah. Do you remember your first hunting story? Like, can you share that?
I remember the first deer that I shot for sure. Yeah, and it was with a 308 core lock load, 150 grains, with my grandfather hunting out of a tree stand that he had built, old school, almost elevated box blind style.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about Texas now. We're Pennsylvania deer hunters have elevated box blinds too. And he had this deer stand in the same location for a long, long time. I mean, ever since I was a little kid. I mean, barely old enough to understand what hunting was. He would go to this spot. And we actually, I helped him rebuild that tree stand when I was 12 or 13 or something like that. And then I was hunting with him out of there. I was 14 or 15 years old. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but it was during doe season, which is highly controversial in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
How many doe tags are issued and who's going to get a doe tag and who's not going to get a doe tag. And even if, folks who don't agree with killing does, and then there's folks who want to kill as many does as possible. So anyway, there's a whole thing about doe hunting in Pennsylvania. But for me to have a doe tag when I was 14 or 15 was a big deal. Here it is. We're going doe hunting. And it turns out doe comes down. It was a fairly long shot for a 15-year-old. It was 180 some yards, I believe, through the woods. And, again, core lock back then did the job. Like you said, the deadliest mushroom in the woods. It's been that way for decades and decades. And it certainly was that day too.
I love that. And, it's still here. We still make it the same way, it's tried and true and tested and people love it. And I still use it, hunting in Arkansas. So it's not going anywhere.
No, I still use core locks too.
Yeah.
And not just for deer. I use them for black bears a bunch. I killed a couple black bears with core locks. A bunch of my friends have killed bear with core locks and deer. And you're right, it's not gone anywhere.
And it comes in every cartridge you could dream of.
Yeah.
We make it in core locked.
It's pretty much, your bread and butter of hunting bullets and hunting ammunition is core lock for sure.
Definitely. And everyone knows, this podcast knows that I bleed green. And so I'm always going to, I'm going to be in love with core locked, but I love to hear that other people appreciate it as well.
It's not a stretch. You would talk about brand recognition and Remington core lock resonates with a lot of folks, and it has resonated with a lot of folks for a long time, and it continues to resonate with a lot of folks. It's just one of those tried and true bullet designs that you can find everywhere, and like you said, in a bunch of different cartridges, and it just works. If it didn't work, it wouldn't have been around for as long as it's been around. And
exactly.
And it's been, probably almost 80 years or so, I think, going on?
Yep.
Yeah? So,
I think 80 years, yeah. And I'm just, I'm happy to be here, happy to be a part of the name. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Game and Fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you come to be with Game and Fish? What is Game and Fish all about?
Well, Game and Fish is a pretty unique publication in that we are regionally focused. We have 4 editions per month, and it covers the 4 regions in the U.S., East, South, Midwest, and West, and each its own separate edition. And what that allows us to do is really dive deep into the where to and the how to in each one of those regions. If you're from Alabama, you may not necessarily need to be reading about techniques for culling elk. unless you happen to be an elk hunter or someone who aspires to go elk hunting in Wyoming or anywhere out west.
Out west, yeah.
However, if you live in Colorado or you live in Wyoming and you hunt elk, or Montana and you hunt elk on a yearly basis, well, that's exactly what you want to read about. Whereas guys in Alabama are going to want to know about whitetail tactics, and it becomes even more regionally distinct when we're talking about fishing subjects. So it's a pretty neat publication in that regard, because the amount of information that we provide in each edition and how granular we can get is pretty cool. And then to go with that, we do have a regional section. So we cover things like gear, like the Premier Long Range or the Lokt tip that we did a couple years ago. We have a gear section that goes nationally, and then we do some of those destination, big adventure type hunting and fishing stories in the national section, along with a couple national departments like shooting, bow hunting, conservation, fishing, DIY, things like that. So it's kind of it's a nice mix of hunting and fishing content, but we get to drill down and be really specific when it comes to how to and where to.
Especially regionally. I mean, even you talked about gear, meaning ammunition, but even, with what kind of camo you wear, like what kind of, are you going to be freezing? Are you going to be freezing and moving versus are you going to be freezing and sitting? That's two different things. I am subscribed to Game and Fish, so I am a fan. But where, if someone wanted to subscribe, how should they, how easy is it?
They can go to gameandfishmag.com, and we've got a big old subscribe now button at the top of our website. So you could do it there. But our website as well has a bunch of really good information, again, on the regional aspect. And we cover everything from deer hunting, bass fishing to, we've got a series out right now, a video series on saltwater fishing. I mean, we pretty much do the gamut when it comes to hunting and fishing.
Yeah. And you personally have written a lot of articles for Game and Fish, right? Because I know that you've written a lot for Remington, because the Alaska hunt and the Lokt tip hunt as well. And is that the kind of content they can expect out of Game and Fish?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of gear content, but we do a lot of how-to stories too, which are gear related, but tactics and techniques, and gear usually goes hand in hand with that. But we also do specific gear pieces just on, like you mentioned, the long range or the Lokt tip look, where we dive into more of a technical look. I like to think of the how-to pieces as being very practical. Yeah, that's information that you can take to the field with you and use tomorrow, for example. Whereas our gear reviews, while they're practical and they relate the product in practical terms, it gives us a chance to get more technical. Like we were talking about the molecularly bonded bullet, the spear impact bullet, and the Premier Long Range. When we're talking about a technique or a tactic, we may not go that deep into the technicalities of a product. Right. But our gear pages allow us to do that. So it's a nice mix for readers. They kind of can understand the science and the technology behind a product, but at the same time, they can go flip back a few pages and see, this is exactly how I would put that to use.
Gotcha. And so good for beginners, good for old dogs, good for everybody.
Good for, I mean, I'm always learning. Yeah. I'm always learning. Every day in the field, I learn something new. Game and Fish, I learn things by reading the articles that our writers submit. And I think any reader could stand to learn something from Game and Fish too, whether you're a novice or someone who's been doing it for 25 or 35 years. Our content covers all experience levels. So there again, it's a nice mix of content in that way.
Yeah, coming from guys and gals that are all subject matter experts. So.
That's right. Yeah, real experts on a local scale or a regional scale, but also experts with a lot of national hunting and fishing experience.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your OSG. Like, you took time off pulling the trigger to come talk to me, and I appreciate it.
I'm going to get right back on that line, I'll tell you that. Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed talking with you. I love telling hunting stories, and like I said, Remington and Lokt have been a big part of my hunting experience, so it's great to share some of those stories with you.
Yeah, I appreciate the time for sure. Well, there you have it, guys. Remington is on the rise. Like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to share this podcast with your hunting or shooting buddies. If you want to reach out to me or Adam here, you can email us at podcast@remington.com. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the Remington Remington podcast, where we take a deep dive into all things ammunition. I'm your host, Audrey Mayes, and today I'm sitting down with Callie Parmley, the editor-in-chief of Gundog Magazine.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. OSG Roundtable.
Yep.
What number is this for you?
Oh, actually, that's a really good question. I'd say probably 6 or 7, maybe more than that.
Yeah.
This is my favorite location, though. We're in Grand Junction, Colorado.
Where has it been before this?
Oh, in the middle of Iowa.
Oh, gosh,
so it's
yeah.
definitely not as beautiful as Grand Junction. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty cool range rat. We actually saw last year, we saw some bighorn sheep behind the range. We had to go cold.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, love seeing wildlife out here, especially in Colorado. But you do backcountry hunt, but you're a big upland hunter.
I am, yeah.
Yeah,
my
obviously, gun dog, right?
Favorite thing. Dogs are my world.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your dog.
Sure. So I have a couple dogs. I have the first dog that made me a bird hunter is Lincoln. He's a lab. I recently just had to put him down, unfortunately. He told me it was time, but he got the nasty cancer that we all hate, but forever my forever dog, and I will love him forever. So he made me a bird hunter. Mm-hmm. He was an awesome pheasant dog. And then I have a setter named Jones, and he just turned 4. So he's finally calming down.
Yeah.
He's getting to the point where he knows he doesn't have to act like a spaz, and he can just chill out. And then I recently just got a new setter puppy, and his name is Trek, and he's only 4 months old.
Okay.
So I haven't slept much in the last 2 months.
I was going to ask.
I've got a lot of claw marks on my legs. My house is puppy proofed, but he's going to be a phenomenal bird hunter. So I'm excited for him.
Do you usually go for pointers or flushers or?
So that's a good question. I started with Lincoln, and he obviously was a flusher retriever. And then I kind of wanted the best of both worlds. So I got Jones so that I could hunt them together. I could have a pointing breed and then a flusher at heel. And I moved to Utah, and I do a lot of wide open country upland hunting. So a setter is a little bit more conducive to my style.
Okay.
So that's why I got Trek again. I got another setter.
Oh, that's awesome. So do you think that, you had needed that trial and error to figure out what you liked, or?
No, I love labs. Honestly, Lincoln is my forever dog. So it's like, I don't really want another lab right now because he's that one special dog.
Right.
And so I just kind of wanted another setter almost because I'm like, I'm not ready for another lab.
Yeah.
Lincoln was special. So I think there are opportunities for both. And Lincoln was a chucker dog as well. So there's room for a retriever in the western open landscape as well. It had everything to do with I wasn't ready to replace Lincoln.
Yeah,
So.
that's fair. And do you have a specific upland bird that you like to hunt more often than not? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I enjoy chucker hunting, and I enjoy Hungarian partridge hunting.
Okay, wow.
And we've got both in Utah. And then, of course, I can drive straight from wherever and be hunting in 3 or 4 hours different birds. So that's what I enjoy.
That's amazing. If someone is wanting to get a bird dog, get into upland hunting, what advice would you give them?
Do a lot of research, talk to as many people as you can, decide what type of hunting you want to do, what's your favorite, what you're specifically really going to do the most of, and that's going to tell you what dog is conducive to your lifestyle.
Okay.
And the type of hunting that you want to do. So, if you're a guy who only wants to hunt pheasants, then maybe it's smart to have a big lab who can get through the cattails for you and bust through that brush. If you're only going to do ducks, obviously you just need a versatile or a retrieving dog. Or if you're planning on hunting the big, wide open spaces of Utah, Idaho, and Oregon, you may want a dog that reaches out and touches something like a setter or a pointer or a GSP. So just depends on what type of hunting you want to do.
Yeah, and there's so many different kinds of bird dogs out there.
Oh, I can't even think of all the breeds. So
yeah, one for everybody, right?
Yes, and I encourage everyone to do a lot of research because different breeds have different personalities, and some are better family dogs, some have a good off switch, so it's just kind of dependent. And do a lot of research, talk to a lot of breeders, go and meet the breeder, go and meet the dogs. Most people honestly see a certain dog in the field and fall in love with it, and that's how it comes to be. So
yeah. Did you start off hunting over other people's dogs, and that's how you knew? How did you get into it?
Honestly, I hadn't hunted growing up. I grew up in a very rural community in Ohio, and so hunting wasn't strange. And I did not get into hunting until my I would say 25 years old. And I had hunted over some other dogs and just done some canned hunts. And then I got Lincoln, and I was asked by some friends to go afield one day and take him with me. And I'm like, no, he was very smart, obedience trained. But I'm like, he's never seen a bird before.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, bring him. And I actually took him that day, and he flushed and retrieved 3 roosters.
Wow.
So it was all just very natural to him. And so from there I was like, oh, I have to train him, you know? And so he made me a bird hunter. And that's
awesome.
really the story of it is. And
Yeah.
he hunted, I was trying to think of all the states that he hunted through his life, and it is an astronomical amount, and every bird you can think of, chucker, huns, pheasants, quail, everything. So
you're not like stuck in a pigeonhole. Like once you pick a dog, you could really like change it up.
Yes. Oh no, definitely not. Once you have a bird dog, they'll chase any bird you want them to.
That's awesome. I love to hear it. And I know that you've gone on some exotic hunts, right?
I have, yes.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about your trip to Africa?
Yes. That's funny. That is a funny story. So I'm also a big game hunter. I love big game hunting. So I was in Africa a few years ago hunting big game, and we were on safari and having a phenomenal time. And I knew they had guinea fowl. And so I had kind of said to my friend JJ and the outfitter, I said, can we hunt guinea fowl when we're done? You know, we brought some shotguns. And I remember the PH was like, okay. And we went out and hunted guinea fowl one afternoon, and it was a ball. And it was just so awesome.
Yeah.
It was so awesome.
I'm guessing that's not normal.
It is if you're specifically going over there for birds, but we were like after beautiful Gimsbuck and you know, zebra, and I'm like, can I hunt this bird? And to them it was probably like a farm animal, you know, but to me it's like an upland bird. I wanted to check it off my bucket list, so I got one. I got 2 actually.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
I mean, like going to Africa, you got to do it.
Oh, I'm there.
Yeah.
You know, I may never, that could be a once in a lifetime trip. So I wanted to really badly, and they were phenomenal. It was beautiful, your African landscape, and you're hunting these beautiful birds, and they're flushing in that safari land, and it was pretty epic. So I'm glad I did it. They probably were laughing at me from the truck, but
you're like, I don't care at all.
I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, we have to dive into the ammunition a little bit,
Sure.
but when you're looking for, you know, a shotgun shell that you are about to shoot over your dogs, you know, like what are you looking for?
I'm looking for something that's reliable, that's going to fire every time. I'm looking for the right size shot for the bird that I'm hunting. And I'm looking at something, depending on the type of season, whether I'm in early season or late season, something that's going to be able to go the distances that we need it to go. So I'm particular to your Express XLR. I think it's an all-around not cartridge. We're not big game hunting, are we? I think it's an all-around shot shell. You know, anywhere from me personally, I'm anywhere from the 5 to 7.5 range shot, depending on birds. You know, anywhere from roosters to quail, and just reliable. I really think that's what it is. So, and of course, Remington comes with such a iconic history. You know, everyone knows Big Green, right? Everyone knows the green and the Remington logo. So that's a load that I'm not afraid to throw in my pack or have in the truck at all times.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to hear it. So when, you know, your journey through starting upland hunting and now that's the cartridge you've always gone for, reached for, or have you like made a transition?
Well, should I be honest or no? Of course, I've tried all the ammo, okay?
Right,
but I think Remington is a reliable shot shell that I can always count on.
Yeah.
And it's something that I can always find if need be, you know, going to the remote places that we go, and we go to a random gun shop and we're like, okay, there's Remington, you know, it's something that you always reach for. So, yeah. Over the years, it's been something reliable that I know I can count on.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love to hear it. So can you tell me a little bit about Gun Dog?
Yeah, Gun Dog magazine.
Yeah.
So Gun Dog was started in 1981. So it is a long-standing magazine, and it focuses on the hardcore waterfowl and upland bird dogs. Mostly upland bird dogs, because our sister publication is called Wildfowl, and so they cover the waterfowl side of things. But Gun Dog specifically focuses on upland hunting, but more specifically for the DIY dog trainer. The guy who's got his upland dog and he's looking for tips from some of the best dog trainers in the country. So we have those trainers writing for us. They have columns every issue, and they're providing the tips that you need to turn your dog into a phenomenal bird dog. So about 3 years ago, we turned it in from your typical 80-page magazine to the beautiful 120-page perfect bound, the magazine that we call them coffee table-esque, so you don't want to throw them away, you know. And so that change was met with a lot of praise, and people are happy. And I always just say, well, yeah, because the photos of dogs are bigger now, you know. So I love my job. I would never tote myself as being a professional dog trainer, but I love training my dogs and learning from some of these best trainers in the world, and really them being my mentors. And I love sharing that with other people. So, I mean, I have the best job in the world. I get to look at dog photos all day.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
I know. I love your puppy issue.
Yes, that's the best one.
I love it. Yeah.
First issue of the year is called the puppy issue, and it focuses on your young up and coming sporting breeds. So puppies, all 120 pages of puppies. So
Can't beat it.
no, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We have readers send in we always have one feature where readers can send in their photos of their dogs, and everyone's just so proud of their bird dogs, and I love that. And so we get bombarded with hundreds of emails, and it's hard to narrow it down. It's hard to narrow it and decide which ones to put in there. So
Yeah.
if I could put them all, I would. But
Yeah. The one of the things that I love about Gun Dog is that, like you said, you wouldn't call yourself a professional, but you can speak to what I would call a normal. I'm a normal
Sure.
person who's trying to train a dog.
Yeah,
so you speak my language is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure. I do. I have some training experience from college. I helped train service dogs, obedience, and then through the years after I got Lincoln, I would talk to every trainer I could. I love just learning from them and just going to the field and watching. And it's like, man, I wish I could be as good as you someday, And so I picked up a few things over the years, and I'm so thankful that all these people just let me tag along and learn from them and share their message with our readers. So.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's very you can see the experience when you read it, but it's very accessible.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah. And how can someone subscribe to Gun Dog if they want to find it?
Sure. So we're at gundogmag.com, and a subscription is very affordable. It's like $19.99. It gets you 6 issues a year of that beautiful coffee table magazine, and it also gets you what we call premium. And on our website, you can sign in a username, and you get all the premium content that's behind the wall, and also hundreds of DIY dog training videos from some of the best names in the industry: Bob West, Talmadge Smedley, Tom Dawkin. So $20 and you get a magazine that tells you how to train your dog. You get how-to videos and how-to articles. I don't think you can beat that. So.
Yeah, it's a great deal for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for meeting with me today. I know it's a busy day, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, I got to go over to Crazy Quail and shoot some of your ammo right now.
Yeah, definitely low decibel all day. But well, there you have it, guys. Remington is on the rise. Like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to share this podcast with your hunting or shooting buddies. If you have any questions for me or Callie here, you can email us at podcast@remington.com.